I got Cahill, and I'm substituting at the moment for Michael McGrath TT. I'm not calling myself a super sub or anything, but I hope I can engage in a positive manner. First of all, I want to extend a welcome to Minister Canny and his officials, particularly Mr. Buckley, who is a constituent of mine. In the past, he's been a champion of creating jobs and a great advocate for, creating employment in some of the forgotten counties like Roscommon. So I wish you well in your role. I have a number of questions that I want to put to the Minister, and I want to also acknowledge that we've engaged a lot, Minister. You're a good engager. You have visited a lot of localities that have been devastated by flooding. Certainly there have been some movement on schemes, I acknowledge that. But there are a few questions that I would like to put to you today and to your officials. If you look at the flood risk management programme, over a 2-year period, there's a reduction of 12 million. The allocation in 2015 was over 87 million. And if you look, if I'm correct, at the allocation for 2017, we're looking at 75 million. Now, I'd like to know the reason for the scale of that reduction over that 2-year horizon. And, was the full allocation drawn down over the years? I might get an answer to that initially.
Initially, I can tell you that there's a carryover of 7 million from the previous year, which was spent 2016. Isn't that it?
It was a carryover.
Along with the full allocation. So we effectively, in 2016, we spent in excess of 52 million on flood relief alone, which was a record spend for flood relief specifically in any one year. We spent the 45 plus the 7, 52.
Okay. That's fine. There also appears to be a substantial reduction in the level of funding provided to local authorities for minor works. Now, again, I'm going to go into a 3-year framework, 2014, 2015 and 2016. If you look at 2014, the allocation was 9 million. 2015, it was 16 million. And in 2016, it was down to 3 million, according to figures I have. Now, if you take that same period at the level of funding I have looked at, it shows a sharp decline. The number of proposed projects increased from 27 in 2014 to 55 in 2015 and 83 in 2016. Now, how can this be reconciled? Is it a situation where the OPW are carrying out the works itself as opposed to funding the local authority as regards those minor works?
The minor works to date, the amount of funding which is approved to local authorities to date since the scheme came in is 37.621 million. The local authorities have drawn down 30.421 million. The value of works directly undertaken by the OPW is 1.5 million. The number of approved projects is 597 and the number of them that's completed is 435. Estimated number of properties protected was 6,153. I think on average each year, Deputy, there's approximately 3 million being spent on minor works. And the idea that there's no reduction in it, it's basically we'll fund what the local authorities look for. And they've looked for, I think, something like there was maybe a spike there where there was, it might be referred back to 2014. There was 9.34 million, and then the next year there was 16.83 million. But they're related to storm damage, which was a specific fund for storm damage at the time, whereas the normal flood relief, minor work flood reliefs, are averaging about 3 million per annum. There's no reduction. We pay out based on the funds that are actually applied for by the local authorities, and it's averaging around 3 million per year.
All right. Would you and your officials look at the possibility of, broadening that minor work schemes? Because I think it's accepted that local authorities, could solve a lot of those problems in the short term, rather than have to go through the OPW with every project. Would it not be a good thing to look at the possibility of broadening that minor work scheme?
When you talk about broadening it, I presume you mean doing more work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I've written to the local authorities last year, to every CE last year, inviting them to make more applications that we can give them more money. But there's a number of things. There's the capacity of the local authorities, you know, within their own to carry out these works, or even to get the paperwork done to get it into us. But definitely, the more money can be spent. There's no cap on what can be spent. The other thing which I'm doing with my officials is we're looking at the scheme itself to see, to review it, to see, looking at the cost benefit, looking at other areas of it, to see how we can make it more attractive, one might say. But definitely there's a huge interest in it from the local authorities, and if they want to put in for additional monies, that can be looked at. We're not capping the money, or we're not saying we won't give you any money if the scheme meets the criteria. And it is, as you say, a very good scheme.
Absolutely.
To get works done, and you can see from the figures there's nearly 6,200 properties that have been protected for very small money.
Yeah, which is good news, and I welcome that. In relation to the road funds, and you'd know, coming from Galway and having visited the Roscommon area, and you know how badly we were hit and are still suffering the consequences of that last storm. Have you specific road budgets within your department, or is it all with the Department of Transport?
No, as you know, the local authorities get the roads budget from the Department of Transport, and in the area where roads have to be raised to accommodate where they have been raised, there's a funding mechanism which has been applied by the Department of Transport, and the local authorities apply for funding for that. We don't have a funding. Our primary objective is flood relief and emergency flood relief, and I suppose that's where we work. We don't have a funding for roads. That's transport provide the funding to local authorities for that, and they do provide special budgets, as you know, or have done last year in counties where flooding had caused damage to the roads.
But you know, flood relief, you know, as you know yourself, many roads have been cut off for a long period of time. You know, local businesses were closed, local schools were closed. People, if you take parts of South Roscommon where Lough Funchion is, which is still flooded, long after the flood, the heavy rainfall is gone. You know, would it not make sense that, you know, in areas like that, that you would have a budget for roads?
Well, I suppose there's a danger here that we go spending our money that we should be doing our flood relief on roads. And I know, for instance, in Lough Funchion, that where any place along there where the roads were raised, the money was provided by the Department of Transport from their budgets. And there is money available for that to the local authorities. People are saying to me, and you know yourself, Deputy, you'll be on to me about getting works done here, there, in terms of flood relief. And that's my department. It's like saying to health, will you build a road because we cannot get into the house for the ambulance? They don't do that, so I can't do that. I don't have a budget for it. We don't get a budget for it, and we don't have the expertise that the local authorities have to construct roads or to reconstruct roads. Our expertise in the area of flood and flood relief, that engineering.
Okay, I want to